I'm Miriam. The silence in my apartment was deafening after my mother dropped the bombshell. $75,000, she said, her voice a desperate plea. I stared at her, at my father sitting beside her, and a wave of anger and disbelief washed over me. These were the same people who had turned their backs on me when I needed them the most, and now they were asking for a fortune for my sister's wedding. I remember growing up in a small town in Ohio. My family was well off, but you'd never know it from the way I was treated. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were all about appearances. They were involved in the local social scene, always trying to impress their friends and neighbors. My sister, Lily, was their golden child. She was 2 years younger than me, with long, blonde hair and a smile that could light up a room. She was the life of the party, always getting what she wanted. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one. I had dark hair, serious eyes, and a voice that often went unheard. In our house, Lily's happiness was the top priority. I was expected to be self-sufficient, to take care of myself and not cause any trouble. I remember my 12th birthday like it was yesterday. I had planned a small party with my closest friends. I was so excited, I spent weeks preparing. But on the morning of my birthday, Lily came down with a minor headache. My mother immediately went into a panic. "Oh, poor Lily," she cooed. "We can't have a party with you feeling like this. You need to rest." I pleaded with her. "Mom, it's my birthday. My friends are coming." But my father just looked at me with annoyance. "Miriam, be reasonable. Your sister is not well. We can't have a house full of noise." And just like that, my birthday party was cancelled. I spent the day alone in my room, while my parents fussed over Lily. As we got older, the pattern continued. I was the one who got good grades, who never caused any problems. I did my own laundry, packed my own lunches, and took care of all my responsibilities. My parents never really paid much attention to me. When I brought home straight A's on my report card, my father would just nod and say, "Good. Keep it up." But if Lily got a B, it was a huge deal. They would hire tutors, sit with her for hours, and praise her for every little effort. One Christmas, I had been saving my allowance for months to buy a special art set. I loved to paint, it was my escape. I dropped hints to my parents for weeks, hoping they would get the message. On Christmas morning, Lily opened gift after gift. She got a new designer handbag, a fancy phone, and tickets to a concert. Then it was my turn. I opened a box, and inside were a bunch of books on business and finance. My father patted me on the back. "We want you to be prepared for the future. These books will help you." I looked at him, my heart breaking. "But I wanted art supplies," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. My mother rolled her eyes. "Art is just a hobby. You need to focus on something more practical." I felt like I was invisible, like my dreams and desires didn't matter. When I got accepted into a prestigious computer science program at a top-tier university, I was over the moon. I ran home, excited to share the news with my parents. But when I told them, their reaction was cold. "We can't afford to pay for your college," my father said. "Taking on debt is irresponsible. If you want to go, you'll have to figure it out on your own." I was shocked. "But you paid for Lily's private school. And she just got a new car." My mother scoffed. "Lily needs those things. You're smart. You can find a way." I was devastated. I felt like they were throwing me to the wolves. But I refused to give up. I went to my grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. They lived in a small cottage on the outskirts of town. When I told them what had happened, my grandmother, a kind-hearted woman with a gentle smile, took me in her arms. "Don't worry, dear. We'll help you." My grandfather, a tough but loving man, reached into his pocket and pulled out a check. "This is for your deposit." And you can stay with us. We'll do what we can to support you. I was so grateful. With their help, I was able to start college. Those 4 years were the toughest of my life. I worked 3 jobs to pay for my tuition and living expenses. I stocked shelves at a grocery store in the early morning, waited tables at a diner in the evenings, and cleaned offices on the weekends. I was always tired, but I never gave up. I remember one winter day, I was walking to the bus stop in the snow. I was wearing an old, thin coat, and I was shivering uncontrollably. I saw Lily driving by in her new car, laughing with her friends. She didn't even notice me. I felt a lump in my throat, but I refused to cry. I told myself that I would succeed, that I would prove them wrong. After graduation, I landed a job as a software engineer at a big tech company in San Francisco. I worked hard, and soon I was promoted to a senior position. I was making good money, and I was finally able to afford a nice apartment. I bought myself a new wardrobe, and I filled my apartment with art supplies. I was living the life I had always dreamed of. But my relationship with my family didn't improve. Every time I went home for a visit, the conversation was always about Lily. She had dropped out of college, but my parents didn't seem to care. They supported her in every endeavor, whether it was starting a new business or going on a luxury vacation. One day, I got a knock on my door. It was my parents. They walked into my apartment, looking around with a critical eye. They didn't ask how I was, or how my job was going. They just sat down on my sofa and got straight to the point. Lily is getting married, my mother said. It's going to be a big, fancy wedding. Julian's family is very wealthy, and we can't embarrass ourselves. We need $75,000 to cover the costs. I stared at them in disbelief. Are you serious? You refused to help me with my college tuition, but now you want me to pay for Lily's wedding? My father tried to reason with me. This is family, Miriam. You have the money. You should help us out. I was furious. Family? You call this family? You've never supported me, never shown me any love or respect. And now you expect me to just hand over $75,000? My mother started to cry. You're being selfish. Lily is your sister. You're ruining her special day. I shook my head. I'm not being selfish. I've worked hard for every penny I have. And I'm not going to let you use me to fund a lavish wedding. Just then, I heard a noise in the hallway. Lily was standing there, looking pale and shaken. I heard everything, she said. Mom, Dad, you're wrong. You've been treating Miriam so badly. I don't want a big, expensive wedding. I just want to marry Julian. My parents were shocked. Lily, what are you saying? This is your dream wedding. Lily looked at them, her eyes filled with determination. No, it's your dream. I've been living up to your expectations for so long, but I'm done. I want to build a life with Julian, not a show for your friends. She turned to me. Miriam, I'm so sorry. I've been blind. I should have stood up for you a long time ago. I felt a lump in my throat. It's okay, Lily. I'm just glad you're finally seeing the truth. We decided to plan a simple wedding at a local community center. Lily and I spent the next few weeks working together. We made our own decorations, and we found a small catering service. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. On the day of the wedding, the community center looked beautiful. There were paper flowers and fairy lights everywhere. Lily wore a simple white dress, and she looked radiant. Julian's family was very kind and understanding. They didn't care about the size or the cost of the wedding, they just wanted to see their son happy. My grandparents were there, beaming with pride. They had always believed in me, and they were so happy to see me and Lily finally getting along. As I watched Lily and Julian exchange vows, I felt a sense of peace. I had finally found my own happiness, and I had a new relationship with my sister. A few months later, I got a text from my father. "We need to talk. Meet us at the coffee shop near your apartment." I was nervous, but I decided to go. When I got there, my parents looked smaller, more defeated. "We saw the photos of the wedding," my mother said. "It was beautiful. We're sorry for the way we've treated you." I looked at them, my heart filled with a mix of emotions. "I appreciate your apology, but things have to change. If you want to be in my life, you have to treat me and Lily equally. No more favoritism." My father nodded. "We understand. We want to make things right." I took a deep breath. "Okay. But I need you to prove it." As I left the coffee shop, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had finally stood up for myself, and I had shown my parents that I wouldn't be taken advantage of. I was no longer the invisible daughter. I was a strong, independent woman, and I was ready to live my life on my own terms.